Good evening. Coming to you live and on demand from LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. It's been a while, guys. You got Chappy back this week. I've been on vacation. I had a blast, but I must tell you, I missed you guys. Hopefully you missed me too. Honestly, a lot's happened. We got a lot to talk about because it's a really important time of the year. The All-Star break has happened. It is past us now. It's time to take a look and see, recognize who some of our leaders were, and assess that. Royals 29, boom, aloha. Good to see you on here. Thanks for stopping by. So, we're halfway through this season, right? I kind of advertise this. I kind of pub this. You want to win your league. It's not rocket science. Pay the frick attention. Pay attention. There's a lot going to happen in this next 80 games that's going to dictate who wins and loses these games. You can still win your league because all these numbnuts are out trying to figure out who they're going to draft with their third wide receiver. Who gives a shit? Sorry. It's going to be that kind of episode, okay? So, just pay attention, right? We're going to get, you look at guys in the past. Look at Ramon Laureano last year. There are so many guys that are just out there in the weeds for you guys to take advantage of. And all it takes is a little shift in thought process, okay? You guys that have been with me from the beginning, you understand that's what I'm all about, right? Thinking differently than everyone else. So I'm going to share a little bit with you guys tonight. I hope you enjoy it. First, I want to say a few things about the standings. Arnie, as always, he does about 7 shows a week, 8 shows a week, so he is polished and well-tuned. He goes through the standings. It is impeccable the way he does it, so I won't belabor the point. I do want to say a few things, though. The races are interesting. I think that, you look at it in the East, the Yankees are clearly the best team right now in the majors. I said it, Arnie. The Yankees are the best team in the majors right now. It doesn't matter what happens. They seem to be able to overcome adversity, and they're consistent through and through. Over the last 30 games, they've won 20 of them. So, that they're just finding a way to get it done. A team that you got to watch, Tampa Bay is going to stay there. They're going to be consistent all year long. They'll have to be flexible now that Glasnow is probably out for the year. They're going to have to figure out some ways to get creative to bolster that pitching depth. I asked Lou this morning about Jose De Leon. He kind of wasn't sold on it, which is fine. That's why we do this, right? Everybody has their opinions. I'm interested to see guys like him and Jacob Faria, where they fit in, because those guys were at one time highly sought after prospects, and they need guys like that to step up in Tampa Bay. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The real team to I think consider in the East is Boston. So Boston, they're 7-3 over the last 10 and 18-12 over the last 30. So they're starting to come on. You look at some of their pitchers. We'll talk about a couple guys later. That they're only 9 games back, and they're squarely in the wild card hunt, and only 2 games back of Cleveland. Boston could be. Think about having to play Boston in a 1-game playoff. It's a scary thought for one of these teams, right? So that's the East. The Central's starting to tighten up. The Twins, of course, they're still holding on with a relatively comfortable 6-game lead. But I think both Cleveland, especially Cleveland and Chicago, are both formidable in that Central. I think Cleveland, if they can get their pitching healthy, they're 21-9 in their last 30. That's a larger sample size, and that tells me that they're in it. They're in it for the haul. So let's see what they got. Out west, it's an even more interesting scenario because, Oakland is certainly coming on. Houston's kind of faltered a little bit. I love it. I mean, I've been, here's this guy. Yeah, he's got his ERAs mid-3s in AAA. He's building up his arm strength. Why not bring him out and let him be one of those mid-tier guys, right, Kevin? One of those guys that comes in the second and goes as long as he can. I see that being an absolute possibility with him. So back to that, the Athletics are an interesting team. They're kind of patchwork together pitching-wise, but their offense is starting to heat up. I really do believe that with the core offense of Laureano, Chapman, Olsen, Davis, they are in really good shape going forward. So, again, they're tied for the wild card lead right now, and that's going to be one heck of a race. Really, if you think about it, going out in the American League this second half of this season, that's what you want to look at in the American League is the wild card race, because you have 4 teams within 2 games of each other, and then 2 more another game and a half back. So Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Oakland, Boston, Texas, and the Angels, which I told Arnie I wasn't going to talk about, but I want to talk about them. The Angels are significant, guys, okay? They're just 4.5 out of the wild card. That's not unsurmountable, obviously. So the American League's interesting, but as interesting as the American League is, man, the National League's just crazy, right? You look at it, here's my opinion, here's my, 10,000-foot view of the National League. You got the Braves and the Dodgers and everyone else. And that's about the truth of it. So the Braves have just been absolutely phenomenal. Arnie and I both sat here and talked about them. They have been simply, one of the 2 best teams in the National League. And in a lot of years they'd be the best because, what LA is doing is absolutely unbelievable. But Atlanta, in their last 10, they're 7-3. In their last 20, they're 14-6, and their last 30, they're 22-8. So they're playing really consistent, good ball. They're deep, they're young, they've got a lot of good players, a lot of major players. I think they're going to run away with this division. They're already starting to. They're 7.5 up on the now second place Washington Nationals. It's interesting. Arnie, I think, has been talking about the Nationals for the longest. This guy, Arnie, like I said, Arnie's great. I love doing shows with him. I love listening to him. But he's really nailed it on the Nationals. And here they are. They've been consistent now again for the last month. Last 10, they're 8-2. Last 30, they're 21-9. They're starting to find their groove. So we'll see what happens there. But I think that Washington all of a sudden becomes a buyer. And what that looks like, I'm not sure. You would think they want to get a bullpen piece, but they're suddenly in this game. And in all honesty, they're in the wild card. They're in a wild card spot right now. So Washington is absolutely someone to be reckoned with. The Central is honestly, it's a cluster. It really is. The Cubs are clearly, I think, my opinion, I know I'm a homer, the Cubs have the best talent pool to draw from. They're currently in first place. They're playing so mediocre, and they're still in first place, which leads me to believe that they're going to play better, right? They're going to get better. They're going to be better. But 5-5, 10-10, 14-16 in their last 30. So, what's saving them, what's keeping them in first place is the fact that Milwaukee is just falling off the cliff. As a matter of fact, St. Louis is now the second place team in the Central, and Milwaukee at 3-7, 8-12, and 12-18 has struggled for a month now and finds themselves almost out of contention in the Central. They've got to really come around. They need to be buyers at the break if they want to be players in this race. The Dodgers out west. I will say this. I will go back to the Central. I agree with what Arnie's saying. I agree with what Lenny says. Cincinnati is absolutely a player. We'll talk about them in a little bit. They are really starting to flex, and I just believe that they might. I don't think they're better than St. Louis. They could be the third best team in that division when it's all said and done, because they're really starting to find their identity, and that's really the name of this game. So, on to the West. Again, the Dodgers, they're, clearly the cream of the National League, 63-30, 30 games over 500 already. Their run differential is plus 148. It's the most in the majors. But who else in the West? Is there another player in the West? Well, right now it's Arizona sitting at second. They're playing 500 ball. Colorado has fallen off 2-8 in their last 10 games. I look for that to change, but it's really kind of thrown a monkey wrench into this division. How about San Francisco, guys? The surging Giants, 8-2 in their last 10, and all of a sudden, respectable. Who saw that coming? I know Arnie said he didn't. I sure as hell didn't. So, just a real quick overview, like I said. I know the Giants are crazy. I don't know if they keep it up, but I'll tell you what right now. If you're a true Giants fan, you certainly got to appreciate what they're doing and live in the moment, because I don't know if I don't think they're buyers by any means, but I tell you what, it sure would make you think about wanting to get rid of Will Smith and Bumgarner or some of these other guys if you're actually in a wild card race, So, there's that. 10 minutes. I got a lot to go through, so I did want to get through that quickly. Let's do our All-Star break reset, right? Okay, I sold everybody on coming in here on you want to win your league. It's real simple, guys. I said pay attention, right? It's more than that, though. It's more than that, okay? It's understanding your identity is where you sit at the moment, okay? And improving upon that, okay? So you might be in a situation where, for instance, in one of my leagues, I don't have any stolen bases. I don't have any stolen bases, but I've got 5 guys that are solid save candidates. I've been fortunate enough to pick up on Liam Hendricks. I've been fortunate enough to pick up on Carlos Martinez. I got Eovaldi. I'm dealing with a surplus of closers. So, it's really hard to sell speed. But if you're really vigilant about it and you understand the identity of your team and you understand that you have saves to give, shop them. And guess what? Okay, so maybe nobody wants to pony up on some saves or on some speed. You could still sell it elsewhere. Say you want to get an extra power bat. There's no sense having a surplus at any position when you have holes elsewhere. Get the guys in the lineup. Make a list of your team. If you're in a dynasty league, understand who you're going to keep, who you want to retain before you go out shopping people, right? But if you have a surplus of outfielders, shop one of them, okay? So let's talk about our halftime reset. This is what I like to do. I like to go through and look at the leaders at halftime at the All-Star break and see just where we sit. Who surprises you? There's always going to be surprises in every category. And who maybe you could get a deal on, okay? So first, we'll start off with homers. The same old characters at the top. Yelich and Bellinger, they're going to be neck and neck all year. I think Bellinger's at 32 now. I made this list yesterday, so Yelich I think is at 33. So correct me if I'm wrong. But Trout at 30, Alonso at 30, Josh Bell still hanging tough at 27. Hunter Renfroe was surprising, sitting there with 27 as well, tied for 5th. Edwin, Moustakas, Soler at 25, and Franmil at 25. Jay Bruce, our first one I want to talk about. Jay Bruce, to me, is a sell. I just sold Jay Bruce, okay? And I'm not just saying this because I just sold him. I want to pound my own chest, right? But I say this because dude's really, one, he's injury prone, right? One, he's been injured a lot throughout the course of his career. 2, he's got 24 homers already. I just don't see him holding up down the stretch, especially if Philly continues to struggle. I just don't see it. If you wait too long on a guy like Bruce, you're not going to get anything for him. So why not get some value out of him right now? Okay? That's just my take. Again, 24 homers is nothing to sneeze at, right? Going down this list, I won't read this to you. My buy of this list, I think, is Max Muncy. Max Muncy sitting on 23 homers. I think he's really established himself as a dependable bat in the Dodgers lineup, as a leader. I'm buying at 23 homers, tied for 15th in the majors, Max Muncy, if you can get him at a good deal, okay? Because a lot of these guys in this area, you're not getting